The Chevrolet Suburban and the Tahoe might not have the same street cred as the Cadillac Escalade. It might not have the same pop culture references as a Ford Mustang or a Chevrolet Camaro or Corvette. But the Suburban nameplate has been in the Chevrolet lineup for almost 90 years now. And in that time, you have received an SUV that is capable, that is versatile, that is practical. And it gets even better now for 2026. In today's video, we're going to check out what the Chevrolet Suburban has to offer us, why it might be a better choice over a Chevrolet Tahoe, and see if this model gives you everything you want and desire, not only in regards to performance, but also interior quality, refinement, and overall practicality. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Copeland Chevrolet here in Hudson, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Chevrolet Suburban. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Chevrolet inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the 2026 Chevrolet Suburban we have today, this is the Premier, coming in above 80 grand. Now our model comes in just below $84,000. This will not be the top trim for 2026, that is the high country. But I personally think the Premier might be the way to go because it does give you a lot of creature comforts and amenities, and also a nice 5.3 liter V8. We'll talk about that in a minute. For those of you who think the Tahoe just isn't enough for you and you want more interior space, better practicality, you also want a vehicle that will suit your large family, the Suburban is going to ease all your concerns if you are a little bit iffy on that Tahoe. Now, as expected though, the Suburban is the longer version of that Tahoe, so aesthetically, nothing really changes. You're just going to have a vehicle that is much bigger on the roadways, and that might create some apprehension when you are cruising around in the city and suburbs. Design-wise though, it does take some aspects from the Chevrolet Silverado it shares platforms with, although it still looks very luxurious and upscale. Up front, you are going to receive full LED headlights and LED fog lights for better visibility at night or in adverse weather conditions. During the day or at night, you are going to have an interactive light display for the front and rear fascias, which is really nice and gives you more of a luxurious experience to this vehicle. Now, in true Chevrolet fashion, you're going to have a lot of chrome here up front that extends into the center portion of the front fascia, also of course that Chevrolet badge, and makes its way into the LED headlight housings. Now, also one thing I do like here about our Premier is that we do have some gloss black trim as well, giving us a nice classy touch, and you will have active side air curtains, so that way you have better airflow when you're on the highway. You can go with the Black Essentials package, which I recommend. Here at Copeland Chevrolet, they have a Tahoe with that package. It looks sinister, it looks great, and it gets rid of a lot of that chrome. But for those of you in this market, I think chrome does fit this model quite well. For the lower portion of the front bumper, you have more chrome accents here, and also you will have your fog lights as well, but very straightforward for the Chevrolet Suburban. It's not overly styled like we do see from some other body-on-frame SUVs in this class and price range. As you make your way over to the side profile, you are going to have 20-inch polished aluminum wheels, which goes very well with the chrome accents that is found up front and for the rear fascia as well. I personally don't think that tire size is going to be too much of an issue here for a vehicle in this class, but we'll talk about that later on during the test drive. Also, another thing too, it's very standard here for Chevrolet. They love using this style. They've been doing this for a very long time. Now, better yet, you're not going to have plastic cladding here along the wheel arches. I love to see that. It gives you more of a classy and luxurious feel to this model. And you will have running boards giving you easier access inside the Chevrolet Suburban. Now, you will have some chrome accents for your side mirror caps to go along with turn signal indicators, and as always, and as expected, you are going to have blind spot detection for added safety. Now, just like we saw up front, there is some gloss black trim as well that makes its way to the side profile for your windows and then also for your B-pillar as well. Love to see that. Then as you make your way around to the back, you're going to have those LED taillights, which again gives you more of an upscale look. But for me though, I like the fact that Chevrolet didn't go too crazy with the chrome, because you have gloss black trim outlining that rear window. You're also going to have your Chevrolet badge here and the Suburban badge being written out on the liftgate. Very trendy now in the 2020s. For me though, it's going to be the quad exhaust tips. And with that V8, it has a nice rumble, it has a nice roar. And that's what makes the Chevrolet Tahoe and Suburban kind of unique now in the 2020s, with a lot of manufacturers going with V6s. And while we're taking a look at the rear fascia, you might as well check out the cargo area for the Chevrolet Suburban. I think a lot of you are going to be surprised here. So, as expected, you are going to have a power liftgate. And inside, behind the third row seats, you're looking at a whopping 41.5 cubic feet of room. Is that enough for you? I think it's enough for me. Typically for body-on-frame SUVs with a third row, I like seeing more than 20 cubic feet. Well, the Suburban doubles that and then some. On top of this, you are going to have more storage space beneath the floor mat here. So if you have some smartphones, tablets, you can leave them back here and keep them safe and out of sight. On the right side of the cargo area, you will have some buttons here on the right side. You can automatically lower the third row seats. You can also raise them as well. And when the third row seats are folded, you're looking at right around 98 cubic feet of room. Impressive, very impressive. I mean, this alone right here, you don't even need to lower the second row of seats to fit a lot of items back here. Then lastly, you will have two more buttons that will conveniently lower the second row of seats. Now, they're not power folding. You can't power fold them back up, so keep that in mind. But when everything is folded here, you're looking at 144.5 cubic feet of room. That is the big difference here between the Suburban and the Tahoe. So if you're looking for a vehicle that is going to be practical and family friendly, you have that here with the Chevrolet Suburban. And one last thing I want to point out here with the Chevrolet Suburban, and for this portion of the review, you are going to have your indentations for that rear cargo cover. So if you are like me and you have camera gear or anything else of value, you can leave them back here and have that peace of mind knowing that no one will be able to peek in and steal what you have. Powering our Chevrolet Suburban is going to be a 5.3-liter V8 engine, producing 355 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission, giving you a towing capacity of 8,200 pounds if you go with four-wheel drive, which that will give us better year-end capability and versatility. Now, we're going to find out if the 5.3 is the better choice, because you can go with the 6.2. I personally think the 5.3 might be a great pairing for an SUV of this size, but we'll find out, and that'll be up to your decision as well at the end of the day. Now, we do have to talk about that fuel economy, though. Unfortunately, we have to bring that up because you're still going to be using this on a daily basis. Sure, you're going to be going on those longer road trips, but I think some of you might be looking for that fuel economy as well. So with the Suburban we have today, you're looking at right around 14 miles per gallon in the city and 19 miles per gallon on the highway, which is most certainly not the best in this class, but considering the fact that a lot of manufacturers are using V6s, this V8 really isn't that far behind. Hopping inside our Chevrolet Suburban is going to be power adjustable, heated and ventilated, perforated leather trim seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side having two-position memory for added convenience. Now, even though the Chevrolet Suburban is not going to be seen as a luxury body-on-frame SUV in the same way we look at the Cadillac Escalade, some of those attributes and qualities do make their way into the interior, beginning with these seats. They're plush, they're comfortable, and supportive. Perfect for an SUV at around $80,000. On those longer road trips, on those weekday commutes, you will not be dealing with any type of fatigue here out of this vehicle. This is actually going to be a very enjoyable driving experience and ownership experience for an SUV in this class. Now, further doubling down on all of this, there's some accents that also make their way on the dashboard that I think is a nice touch, such as the wood grain trim that will get overlooked, but for a vehicle at around $80,000, it does give you some sense of class and sophistication for a vehicle wearing the Chevrolet badge. You're also going to have a very wide center console here, very body-on-frame-like. There is some gloss black trim, which I know some people are not going to like, and you still have physical buttons on the dashboard. We will return to that in a minute. When you take a look at what's in front of you, you are going to have a very beefy leather-wrapped steering wheel, just heated, by the way. No aggressive 10 and 2 or firm 9 and 3 grips, but when you do hold this steering wheel for the first time, you notice that there's some confidence here out of the steering input. And I do think it's going to go a long way for most of you hopping into this market for the first time. You have paddle shifters to rotate the gears yourself for that 10-speed automatic, although I don't think that's going to be something that's going to draw your attention too much here out of a Chevrolet Suburban. But maybe for some of you looking for an exhilarating driving experience, you at least have that here, especially since you do have drive modes that you can scroll through with the Chevrolet Suburban, such as Sport Mode, which some of you might actually really like here. In front of you will be a full digital gauge cluster, and this begins some of my criticism for the Suburban, because this is the exact same technology that can be found in a Chevrolet Equinox and a Chevrolet Trax or Traverse. And that is one thing I don't like. This is the flagship out of Chevrolet. I expect better technology. I expect something a bit more unique. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. Now, this functions the exact same way as what you are going to find out of a Chevrolet Equinox or Traverse. For me, the one layout that I personally like is the Google Map display. I would just leave that display on the entire time, and it just gives you a sense of a futuristic style to the interior. Now, as you make your way over to the infotainment system, again, this can be found in a lot of Chevrolet products right now with the Google integration. Now, I know some people are going to complain about this because at the bottom of the screen will be quick access icons for your dual zone climate control up front, AC, front rear defrosters, fan speed, fan direction, and your heated and ventilated seats. There's not a lot of physical buttons here on the dashboard, and this is just the direction that Chevrolet is moving in. You can have all your widgets in place here on the home screen for vehicle status, My Chevrolet, Google Assistant, Google Play Store, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It also leads me to the fact we do have the Bose audio system to amplify the audio of your favorite music. You're also going to have a trailering app as well, since you are going to have 8,200 pounds of towing capacity out of this model. At the top of the screen will be more quick access icons here for your home screen, but then also you have another screen where you can display some information here alongside your Google Map display. So it gives you some sense of customizability here for the Google integration. You're also going to have a tab here for your controls and safety, for your child safety locks, your camera, auto park assist, and rear automatic braking. Next, that will be your radio, also your onboard navigation, and lastly would be for your smartphone connectivity. Very straightforward here. For me though, one thing I do like out of the Suburban that we have here today, considering the size of this SUV, we have a plethora of camera angles to work with, and I gotta be honest, I think the resolution and quality is really, really good here. So you got a rear backup camera with trajectory to go along with a top view as well. You're also gonna have an overhead view as well if you are backing into a trailer or maybe just backing out of a tight spot, so that way you're not backing into that vehicle behind you. You're also going to have some side views as well to not scuff those wheels. Continuing on, here we go with that button layout with dials for your dual zone climate control up front, but then also your fan speed, then max front and rear defrosters. So very straightforward there. And you'll have your hazards button as well between your two center mounted air vents. Beneath that will be your wireless phone charging pad to go along with a USB-C and USB-A outlet. Then for the center console itself, you're going to have your two cup holders here with gloss black trim, which again, I think some people are not going to like here because that will be difficult to keep clean during your years of ownership. For the center storage compartment, there is enough room for some smaller items. I think you can lay down a couple 17-ounce water bottles, so that is great to see if you are going on longer road trips. Unfortunately for our model, we don't have a digital rear view mirror, and we also don't have a power moonroof, but it is optional for the Premier, so if you want to go in that direction, you can do so. Then for passengers in the second row, first and foremost, you are going to have 42 inches of legroom, which is pretty much on par with a lot of body-on-frame SUVs. You're also going to have plenty of headroom here, so I don't think taller passengers will be hitting their head on the headliner. After all, this is used as a limo in certain situations, so this is going to be very family-friendly, whether you are using this for a livery service or for personal use. But aesthetically though, this is where you see a major difference between a Chevrolet product and the Cadillac Escalade, because it's not going to be as grand or as upscale. Sure, we have this perforated leather for the captain chairs, which feel really nice. These seats are also heated as well, so you'll be nice and warm during the winter months, but you're not going to have the same technology like we talked about up front. So back here you will have climate control, not dual zone, so I'm a bit surprised by that considering this is a Premier. You're also going to have the heated outboard seats to go along with your fan speed and fan direction here for the second row. You're also going to find a three-pronged outlet, and there will be two USB-C inputs. Comfort-wise though, pretty nice. You can relax, you can recline, you can really enjoy the overall driving experience. No rear sunshades to block out the haters. So unfortunately your haters will get to look at you when you are passing by on those road trips. But all in all though, when it comes to interior space, when it comes to the comfort aspect, I think Chevrolet has nailed it. But what about that third row, since this is a Suburban? So for the third row, this right here is why I go with the Suburban over a Tahoe. You're looking at 36 inches of legroom. Now remember, you do have options in this market. You can go with the Expedition and the longer wheelbase, so this isn't going to be a unique vehicle in its class. But if you're someone looking at buying a Chevrolet, you like what the Tahoe is offering, but you're concerned that your passengers in the third row are going to be feeling cramped or claustrophobic, you go with the Suburban. Headroom-wise, again, not going to be an issue. I think you can have average size adults sit in the third row, so a lot of flexibility here. Remember, this is $83,000, which really isn't far off of what you're going to find out of a Tahoe. So you're not spending much more to get more interior space and overall practicality. For passengers back here, they will have two USB-C inputs, one on both sides, and then also cup holders as well. But for me, it's the comfort. It's the fact that I can sit back here comfortably and in the bleachers, and I'm not going to be complaining. So that is going to be huge for a lot of you looking for a family-friendly and flexible body-on-frame SUV in this market. I can't even begin to explain to you guys just how great it is to hear the sound of this 5.3-liter V8 under the hood of the Suburban we have today. Obviously, you can't go with the 6.2 for better performance, but in this market, too often you come across body-on-frame SUVs that are being powered by V6s, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The V6s are doing quite well in the 2020s, but you want to have a V8. You want to have that authentic body-on-frame experience, and you also want a vehicle that's going to give you that capability and towing capacity, especially for an SUV at around $80,000. But there is a lot to digest here with this model, because it's not just the V8. It's the fact we have this 10-speed automatic transmission, and we also have the magnetic ride suspension, which together is actually a really great pairing. The magnetic ride suspension gives you a smooth and comfortable driving experience. When you're on the highways, you just glide over the roadways. When you encounter bumps and imperfections, when you're maybe cruising around the city and suburbs, you barely feel them. And typically for a body-on-frame SUV, you'd be getting thrown around. With the Suburban, that's not going to be a problem here, especially for the Premier we have today. Now, with the 10-speed automatic, typically I don't like 10 speeds because I feel as though we have just too many gears. But for the Suburban, it's actually quite smooth here. The gear shifts are crisp, more importantly. Now, I think for a lot of you, though, if you are looking at buying a Tahoe or Suburban, you're maybe upgrading from a Traverse, you're probably thinking, all right, how much of a difference is this really going to be? Because you might be intimidated when it comes to its size. I gotta be honest here, with the Suburban, I really don't notice the length at all. And even its size, yes, you have all this width and the shoulder room, but its maneuverability gives you a lot of confidence. Now, when you are cruising around 60 miles an hour, road noise actually really isn't that bad. This kind of reminds me of a luxury SUV, and that's kind of what the Chevy Suburban has really been all about, even though you could go with the Cadillac Escalade. I will say, though, I'm very surprised here for a body-on-frame SUV, because I don't want to say it doesn't feel rugged, right? I don't want to say it doesn't feel capable or off-road worthy, but there's just something soft about the Chevy Suburban in a good way that I think I fully understand as to why this model has been seen as an icon in the automotive world, and why for the American market this has always been seen as a luxury SUV. When it comes to overall visibility, unfortunately we don't have that digital rear view mirror, which is optional for the model we have today. We have a nice panoramic view. A-pillars are somewhat aggressive, so you might have some blind spots here and there when you are approaching intersections or red lights. Taking a look at your side mirrors, they are huge. They are massive. This is basically a Silverado with 3 rows. So you're going to have those large side mirrors. And looking out back, I have the third row seats up, but I can see what's directly behind me. Personally, though, I would go for that digital rear view mirror for better safety. Let's go around this rotary here and see what the handling is like. Obviously, we're not going to go at a very fast speed here, but I will say the handling and the steering input for the Suburban is quite impressive, and again gives you a sense of confidence that wouldn't typically be associated for an SUV of this length, size, and weight. I was expecting something a bit more cumbersome. I was expecting something a bit more lackluster. And with the 5.3, it can get out of its own way. You can most certainly feel that torque. Also, again, with this 10-speed automatic, it really helps out with the overall driving experience. Considering what you have here for the Suburban Premier, it's actually quite engaging on these back roads. And the sound of that V8 continues to reinforce the fact that this is going to be an all-around great SUV. Comparing it to its rivals though, comparing it to say a Ford Expedition, maybe even the Infiniti QX80 or Nissan Armada, the V8 just makes a world of a difference here. It really truly does. Now, I do think the Infiniti QX80 with the adaptive suspension feels a bit more sporty. However, comparing this to an Expedition, I think the Suburban is better. I think it is. The way it feels on the roadways, you kind of get the idea that this has been around for almost 90 years. And when you see what Chevrolet has done throughout the generations, they have continued to reinforce and go much further in regards to that luxury and refinement. And I'm feeling all of that here for this generation. And I think when you take a look at what you have here for this model, I think performance-wise, I think with the V8, I also think with this design and even the interior, this might be better than the Expedition in all categories. However, the one thing I am going to complain about, and I talked about this earlier on, is the dashboard. Because this is the exact same technology that is found in a Chevrolet Trax. And that is one thing I don't really like. I think in some ways it kind of cheapens the experience a bit, especially with this being the flagship in the lineup, that having this technology that can be found in anything else in the Chevrolet product line, just, that's where I think Chevrolet kind of missed the mark there. Because you look at the Ford Expedition and you don't get that technology in a Ford Escape. So there's a bit more of a specialty to that body-on-frame SUV. Whereas with the Tahoe and the Suburban, not so much. I do understand, though, that you have GMC and you have Cadillac, so Chevrolet really can't get too frisky or adventurous with their technology, because then what's the point in buying an Escalade? However, though, at $83,000 for the model we have today, I think it's totally worth it, especially for this market and for what you're going to be using this for. Now, obviously, with a Suburban or even a Tahoe, it's likely that a lot of buyers are purchasing them for livery services. But if you are purchasing one as a personal daily driver, I think you're definitely going to be impressed here all around. For me, it's this V8, the 10-speed automatic, and the magnetic ride suspension. Together, I think what you have here, especially for a model that isn't a top trim, you're receiving everything you could possibly want out of a body-on-frame SUV from a performance perspective. I think outside of that, outside of performance and the driving experience, I do think that Chevrolet could go a little bit further here with the refinement, with the seating materials, with the technology. It's just that it comes back to the fact that we have GMC and Cadillac. But I do think, though, that if you're looking for something like this, you want to have the interior space, the practicality, the towing capacity. What you have here with the Suburban, I think, is a great deal. I really do. It's just going to come down to what engine you want, because you can go with the 5.3, you can get a diesel or 6.2. With the 5.3, I don't feel as though I'm begging for more here. I don't feel as though that this model is gasping for air. And that is the one difference between the Tahoe Suburban and then the Traverse. The Traverse with the Turbo 4, it's begging for more power. It needs a larger powertrain. With the Tahoe and the Suburban, the 5.3 is a good pairing. So I don't think you'll need to demand or want the 6.2. It's just going to come down to what you're looking for. But all in all, what we have here with the Suburban for 2026, I think this is a great body-on-frame SUV. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2026 Chevrolet Suburban. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys next time.